Welcome back, viewers. In what is being seen as a big legal blow to Donald Trump, the U.S. Supreme Court has ruled that the president overstepped his powers when he imposed sweeping reciprocal tariffs last year. In a 6-3 decision, the court ruled that the way Trump used 1977 law, the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, to impose tariff was unconstitutional. The court said the U.S. Congress and not the president has the power to create new taxes. The ruling was silent on the possibility of refunds. As per reports, U.S. government has collected around $130 billion from companies bringing foreign goods in the U.S. Hours later, Trump called the decision deeply disappointing. He decided to impose 10% global tariff using an alternative law on goods from all countries. That's going to be a temporary measure for 150 days only. Now, viewers, this comes just days after leaders from India and the U.S. announced agreement on a trade deal. As per the interim framework, the tariffs on India are supposed to be slashed from 50 to 18%. But the SC decision has brought a lot of uncertainty. When Trump was asked about trade deal with India, he said nothing changes for India. Then a clarification came from the White House saying India will be charged 10% tariff for now. Indian government has responded saying it has noted the U.S. Supreme Court judgment on tariffs. Government is studying the developments and assessing the implications. Opposition is raising questions on the government. Congress is asking, will the government now cancel or renegotiate the trade deal? So what are India's options really? Let's find out. Joining us on the broadcast this evening is Professor Steve Hanke, American economist and professor of applied economics. Thank you very much for speaking with us here on Times Now. Now, the Supreme Court of the United States of America struck down President Trump's tariffs under IPA. Almost immediately, he invoked Section 122 of the 1974 Trade Act to impose a new temporary 10% global tariff effective Tuesday. Do you see this as a last-ditch effort by Donald Trump to, in a way, justify his tariffs and defend his unilateral decisions?
Well, first of all, I might mention that I am a professor of applied economics at the Johns Hopkins University in Baltimore, and I'm speaking from Baltimore right now. Trump displays a profound ignorance of both economics and the law when it comes to trade. And, of course, the Emergency Powers Act that he used to invoke the reciprocal tariffs was struck down by the Supreme Court. I'm surprised the court waited so long before they struck it down because it was blatantly illegal. Now he's moving, as you say, to Section 122 and trying to impose an across-the-board tariff. The one thing that won't solve is what to do about the monies that were collected illegally under the reciprocal tariff acts that he put in the first place. So he's created a tremendous mess because it looks to me like that money was basically raised initially with tariffs illegally. So it'll have to be paid back. There'll be all kinds of court cases, and the thing will remain a complete mess. Now, as far as 122 goes and the new tariffs, nothing really is in writing. It's like India with the reciprocal tariffs. Fortunately, Modi and Jens Hanke were smart enough. They never signed anything. Nothing is in writing, so they're not stuck with anything. And I think it turns out, of course, Modi is a lot smarter than Trump.
Well,
fortunately for India, because basically the game starts over again.
Okay.
And
Professor Steve, you've raised a couple of very important points. First, you're saying that it displays his ignorance of law and trade, but he is the president of the United States of America, the most powerful politician in the entire world right now. But what we saw in the last few hours is quite shocking because here in India, we thought after both the countries managed to agree on some kind of a trade deal, we thought perhaps we are now going to see some sort of certainty. But now again, we are seeing, in a way, a bit of a chaotic situation. So what should a country like India do? What does it mean for a country like India that's in the process of signing the trade deal? I mean, we have an interim framework in place. As per that interim framework, our tariffs were supposed to come down from 50% to 18%. Now, with the new 10% tariff order that he has issued, now we are learning that it's going to be 10% for our exporters. So what does it really mean, and what should India do?
Well, you should keep following Modi, because Modi seems to be a lot smarter than Trump on this. Instead of having, number one, nothing was ever signed by India. There wasn't a deal. Deals occur when something is written on a piece of paper and people sign it. And nothing was written on a piece of paper and nothing was signed by Modi yet, fortunately. And now, instead of this headline number of 18%, by waiting and playing hardball as Modi has done, it looks like the number is not going to be 18%, it's going to be 10%. So that looks to me like Modi got a pretty good deal, actually. If the 10% holds, we don't know, by the way.
Okay, but then even this 10%, even this 10% can be only there for 150 days.
Yes, that's correct. So it's like a temporary thing, because after 150 days, the U.S. Congress will have to come into play. And remember, the President of the United States can't just do what he wants to do. The U.S. Constitution dictates these things. And the power to tax and impose duties, by the way, comes with the U.S. Congress. The U.S. Constitution, Article 1, Section 8, says that Congress is the only one with the power to tax and impose duties. So that's a constitutional issue. And then we have this Emergency Powers Act that he incorrectly invoked to do reciprocal tariffs. So the Constitution dictates, basically. Trump is not the king.
Okay.
He's the President of the United States, which is a republic. So it looks to me like the President is going to be put in a corner with all these stupidities with tariffs and threats of tariffs.
But then, Professor Steve, when he addressed the press conference, he says nothing changes. With respect to India also specifically, he said nothing really changes.
If you believe the spinmeister, who's the President of the United States, you must be dreaming. Everything has changed. The legal basis for the reciprocal tariffs was torn out and taken away.
Legally?
So he has to start over, and he instead of putting in permanently reciprocal tariffs and threatening people and creating a lot of enemies, by the way. What's the president done with regard to India? Okay. He's created what? Over 1 billion enemies. That's not a good idea.
Do you think legally he has any options?
Yes, he has 122 as an option. He's going to try to impose, and for a short temporary period of time, that will be imposed. But at the end of the 150 days, what's going to happen? We'll see. Maybe the U.S. Congress will get some teeth now and push back, and get rid of the tariff threats and so forth. Okay. So that's what's going to happen. We don't know if the Congress will, by the way.
Okay.
But the Congress has, on one occasion, recently pushed back on Canada. The House of Representatives actually passed a bill that said that the tariffs imposed on Canada were illegal.
Okay. So if after 150 days, the U.S. Congress does not approve of what President Trump has announced, what happens then? Do we then go back to an era of tariffs which existed before the Liberation Day last year, April 2025?
That certainly is a possibility. Whether we would go back, whether it would be exactly the way they were before, I can't make a conjecture about that. But we simply would go back. And there are a couple of things. Let me make some technical points here that are very fundamental for Indians to understand, and anyone else that happens to be listening. Number one, and this gets into Trump's ignorance of economics, and that is trade deficits are not bad. We've had trade deficits every year in the United States since 1974, and if you can afford them, they're good, because it allows a country to consume more than it produces. So it's a good deal for Americans to be running a trade deficit if they can finance it cheaply, which they can. So that's why we've had trade deficits every year since 1974. Also, number two, trade deficits are not caused by foreigners. They're not caused by Indians or Chinese or Japanese. This is nonsense. Trade deficits are caused by Americans in the United States because they spend more than they produce. They spend more than they produce. Consumption plus investment plus government spending exceeds GDP, and that gap between spending and GDP is made up with a trade deficit. It's called an identity in economics. It must be true, and it is true. That's my second point. The third point is that the main contributor, why does this happen in the United States? Why does spending exceed GDP and we have a trade deficit? Because the fiscal deficits run by the federal government are the contributor. That is what causes savings to be less than investment in the United States, and that's what that gap between savings and investment is what causes the trade deficit.
Okay.
So trade deficits aren't bad, but if you were really wanting to close them, tariffs are not going to do anything. They won't affect anything. But the only way to do it for the government would be to balance the budget.
Okay. But Professor Steve, tariffs have been one of President Trump's key bargaining chips in striking global deals, often used as leverage. With this ruling, do you think he has lost one of his most effective negotiating tools?
Yes. I think he's looking like a fool. And the more he's talking about it, the more foolish he actually looks. And this leverage argument is again, what does the leverage argument do? He's just making enemies for America.
Okay. You also initially
look at India. Just use that as an example. Now, Modi visited Washington D.C. They had a state dinner and all the rest of it. Hugs and kisses with Modi and Trump. And then Modi goes back to India, and the first thing Trump did was use this leverage. He stabbed Modi in the back. And that has annoyed Indians. All the Indians were very, very friendly. They said, oh, we have now a great relationship with America. Everything is great. And then Trump turns on them with the tariffs, and the Indians are saying, what happened? And by the way, an interesting thing is Trump pivoted away from India to Pakistan. He's now embracing Pakistan.
But then why did he agree for the trade deal, in your opinion?
What?
Then why did he agree for the trade deal, in your opinion?
He hasn't agreed to anything. Nothing's signed. You think there's a deal, but nothing has ever been signed. Fortunately, Modi was smart enough not to sign anything. So there is no deal. What deal? Deals occur when you sign something on a piece of paper. And I don't like the word deal. They're really treaties. They have the equivalence of a treaty, and treaties are signed on a piece of paper.
Okay, but do you think this current development is going to give India an upper hand, more bargaining power with the U.S.?
Yes, there's no question about it. India's in much better shape now because, number one, all of this brouhaha over the tariffs and everything, it's giving Modi cover to liberalize and open the economy in India, and especially open it with other trading partners. India has a big problem. It's a big protectionist country, and it's been very difficult for Modi to liberalize and reduce quotas, reduce tariffs, and reduce non-tariff barriers. Now he has an excuse to do it because he says to be competitive in the world and open to the world and leading BRICS and leading the global South, we have to be opening up and getting new free trade arrangements, free enterprise arrangements, and so forth.
Okay.
So I think it gives opens up a window for Modi to do what he wanted to do anyway, but he was hamstrung by local politics. Okay. Now I think he basically can say, look, I have to do this. Trump made me do it. And since now all the Indians can't stand Trump, Modi can play that card very well.
What is going to be your message for the Prime Minister in India here, given the current situation? You understand how Trump functions very well. So what will be your message to the Prime Minister?
I think the message is continue doing what you're doing. It's paid off. It's been correct. Keep listening to your foreign minister, who's one of the top foreign ministers in the world, Jens Hanke, and his position, Jens Hanke's advice is this neutral ambiguity. Neutral ambiguity. That's what India should continue with, a neutral ambiguity. Basically, India's position should we want to be friends with everybody. We want to do business with everybody.
Okay. One last question, Professor Steve, before I let you go. You also in the beginning mentioned that money via these tariffs was raised illegally. It should be refunded. Do you think it's going to open floodgates now because countries will seek refunds? Do you see that happening?
Oh, it's already happening. The governor of the state of Illinois has already put forth an invoice to get repayment for companies in Illinois, and we're talking about billions of dollars. There'll be all kinds of law cases because the Supreme Court landmark decision of yesterday is very significant because it basically says that all the tariffs were illegal, and therefore all the money that was raised by the tariffs was illegally raised. So it opens the door for a multitude of legal challenges and cases to obtain refunds.
But that's going to be quite messy, isn't it? Because the Supreme Court ruling stayed silent on the refund issue.
It stayed silent, but the plaintiffs that put up the cases won't remain silent, believe me. And that's why it will remain, as I said earlier, and you said it too. You used the word, and I used the same word: messy.
Right. We leave it there, Professor Steve. Thank you very much. It was a pleasure speaking with you. Thank you for helping us understand the significance of the Supreme Court ruling in the United States of America and what it really means for a country like India. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, and kindly send me a link to the program.
Sure, sir. Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you.
The Newshour Special Edition.